I know how that goes.
Yeah, it's the way of the world. But yeah, and nice. Is that? Yeah, it is a blazer you're wearing there. It was.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
It's
I have
kind of like I had to do a double take. It's like, have you got your flannel shirt on over the top there, or it's just a blazer that looks like a flannel shirt?
It is a blazer that looks like a flannel shirt. Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
It's Nebraska chic.
Yeah, I've got on Thursdays I've got a business meeting, so it's where I get to still, even in COVID, we keep separated, but we physically go someplace. So I throw on something that looks decent.
Yeah, no, it's good. Actually, the reason I was a few minutes late, I was watching a webinar that was hosted by my high school in the UK, but the guy who was speaking and answering questions was infectious disease doc from Harvard, who's at the front line of sort of treating patients, and sort of obviously in the Northeast they were at the sharp end of the sword or spear, whatever the phrase is. Anyway, but that he sort of heads up the sort of infectious disease vaccine program there. So it was fascinating to hear his comments on a whole host of issues, and talking about where things are on vaccines and what we're likely to see. Is this going to be like the flu, where we're going to need to vaccine every year because of mutations, or so it was great. And
what was his perspective on that?
Well, probably, yeah. I mean, that was, if or possibly yes. That and there's going to be, some. There's going to be not only the baseline anti-vaccine community. This is me talking now, but also on top of that, the sort of deniers that this is a thing. Although change of administration may change people's thinking on that. But you've got to get to 40-50% of people vaccinated in order to get the kind of sort of population-wide benefits that you need. And but he thinks they're going to, in the US, they're going to be vaccinating health workers and first responders by the end of the year, and then things will sort of move forward into vulnerable populations and so on and so forth. So it was interesting, and to get it. He also had a slide on what treatments work, what don't. So dexamethasone being sort of the only one he had a firm yes on. He said, we give that to all our patients. Anybody admitted to our hospital with COVID, that's what they get. Hydroxychloroquine, no. The whatever it is, the Zemavir, the
remdesivir.
Maybe it sort of doesn't do any harm, but it doesn't. But its benefits sort of are unclear. So it was interesting to hear again somebody who's both a scientist and a frontline infectious disease doc talking about this is what we do at basically Mass General.
Was his impression that they're getting better at treating it as well? Like they?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. He said he'd said privately to me, initially they were just flailing around, not knowing what to do, and you can see that, because the infection rates have exploded, but the death rates are relatively flat in terms of the population, but in terms of mortality rates per infected person, they're doing a whole lot better because in part because of dexamethasone.
Hello and welcome to the Chris Will Podcast on iCode Media. This next series of conversations is going to be broken up into 2 episodes and 2 weeks. So it is with Dr. Mark Bullimore, who I originally sat down to have a conversation with him about his research into myopia management and the impact of myopia management. But the reason I'm breaking this down into 2 parts is because we actually had a great conversation about academia and the differences and nuances in different academic institutions. So I thought that was a really interesting conversation, and that will be this week's conversation. And next week's conversation, we really get into the details of myopia management. That was really illuminating. So stay tuned next week as well. Please enjoy our conversation. As always, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, write us a review, share it with your friends, and support those who support us. We've been providing myopia control treatments in our practice for years. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, CooperVision has received FDA approval of its innovative MiSight one-day contact lens. This will be the cornerstone of a comprehensive myopia management approach to be offered by CooperVision. This daily wear, single-use contact lens is the first and only FDA-approved product clinically proven to slow the progression of myopia when initially prescribed for children 8 to 12 years old and when compared to children in the control group wearing a single vision one-day contact lens. Check out the show notes for all the specific prescribing details and to get more information about this lens and how you can begin to offer it in your practice.
That's unbelievable what that does to mortality rate when you look at the data. And yeah, I have my I'm on the JAMA for a variety of reasons, JAMA mailing list, and I don't print out very many complete papers, but I have my sort of editorials, viewpoints. So you can, where are we? There's one on school closures.
Oh yeah.
Post-approval vaccine safety. Just stuff that is intended for the general medical community, but of course is eminently digestible from people like us with just enough knowledge to be dangerous. And so talking about, so there was another hydroxychloroquine trial published this week, and I haven't read the editorial yet, but it said, basically the title of the editorial is "Why the f are we still talking about this?"
Yeah.
And but again, that's that. So when the generally what happens with these webinars is they'll post the link so that you can watch it off at a later date, and I'll send it to you, because he was an engaging speaker, and there's a lot of preamble. There's like 20 minutes of talking about school, Rowan, and talking about people who influenced him and visiting the principal's office and things like this. But then it gets into the sort of the meat of and reminding people of how we got here in terms of George Washington understanding herd immunity, and Jenna with smallpox, cowpox, and moving on from there.
I'd love to listen to it.
Yeah, no, it's I like general science, I have sort of podcasts I listen to. Some of them are science. I like Freakonomics and whatever the Malcolm Gladwell series.
What's his? It's history reinvented or
revisionist history.
Right. Revisionist history.
And again, it's some of those are just like, wow. Including, I'm embarrassed to say this, sort of. He did one on Northern Ireland and the British troops, and it was like stuff that we didn't talk about, and I wasn't really educated on in terms of some of the, I call them atrocities that occurred, and it was not people necessarily being shot, but innocent people and women being beaten up by British troops. That sort of, now in part that's because you got a bunch of very young men in a very scary situation they haven't been trained to handle. But anyway, it doesn't make it excusable. So anyway, so how's things? I was on your practice website. How many kids you got now? 7?
We've got 8.
8.
I think we've got them updated on the website. I think the website.
I didn't sort of do a head count. And your father's still practicing?
Yeah, he's there a couple days a week, and I hope he stays as long as he wants to. I hope he wants to stay longer than he may want to. But yeah, it's great. It's great practicing with him.
Yeah, and he's my vintage, right? I mean, he's
Yes.
50s.
Yeah. Actually, he's 62.
All right, okay.
62.
He just looks 10 years younger than me. So I'm 58. So
58, huh?
yeah.
So, Mark, I think our first encounter, you probably don't remember this, but it's always interesting. And one of the reasons I started doing the podcast is one of the reasons I started doing the podcast was because I just had experiences like rubbing up against people in our profession that are doing things that I think are pretty cool. And my first encounter with you was I was a student, so it must have been, and I got a scholarship or a travel grant or something to the academy.
So it would have been, I think you were at the time president of AOSA.
Yes.
I think it was maybe through the Zeiss program. You were one of those recipients, and or maybe something else. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the first time we interacted. And one of the nice things about working through the foundation and being involved in the academy is you get to meet a number of up and comers and people who are really got fire in their belly about the profession, and whether that leads them to, service at the state or national level, or going into academia or whatever. That was one of the the pleasures of doing that, and meeting, just meeting some incredibly motivated, young, smart, eloquent people. So, I look back sort of, on that. I'm trying to remember about the same time. Who was the guy from UAB, Jamie?
Yeah, Jamie. Yeah, he's doing great. I get to see him from time to time too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else I got to interact with in that sort of period. Anyway, but it was, it's good. And AOSA is, tremendous organization, and, really a breeding ground for, people who have the potential to go on and do amazing things. The other thing that's been, that really sort of followed on from that wave is the attendance at the academy meeting by students just gone. And
you think that's directly related to the AOSA or to professors that are talking about how important academy is, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a host of factors. I think moving the meeting forward a month or two makes it more accessible. I think, like so many things, it's word of mouth and buzz. So, people, used to, or students used to go, obviously, to the AOSA, AOA meeting.
Right.
But, it's like, hey, there's this other cool meeting you can go to where it has a different flavor, but, and I think it's just word of mouth. And, at the same time, I think, schools and colleges supporting and encouraging it. So there's a host of factors that have, but again, it's changed the feel of the academy meeting, because all of a sudden you had maybe 25% of the attendees. I may be exaggerating, but a significant proportion of the academy meeting attendees were now students, and so that's
what's that done to fellowship numbers?
Again, I think fellowship numbers have sort of increased. I mean, it's even with the sort of the virtual meeting, I think there was maybe 300 new fellows. So it's been one of the things that has how shall I say, reinvigorated or strengthened the academy meeting. So that's so my involvement is now limited. I have every now and again somebody sort of says, "Hey, you got any interest in doing with the academy?" And it's like, no, I've done my tour of duty, and when I did it, I was enthusiastic about it. I wouldn't bring the same energy now that somebody else would, because it would be my second time.
Isn't that interesting? Why do you think that's the case? Where I think it is human nature to feel like you've got this kind of potent energy to be able to kind of drive into something, but at some point, most of us I don't know if our focus either shifts, or we feel like we've done what we can do, or like, What do you think that's from?
Yeah, I think as you said, it is human nature. There is this sort of been there, done that. You know, on from a financial point of view, I keep giving to the academy, my alma mater, my high school, in meaningful ways. That doesn't stop. So the desire to support institutions doesn't go away. But I how shall I say? Being editor of a journal. I mean, I came in at a crisis time for the Academy Journal, and had to sort of devote a lot of myself to it. And I could do it again, and I get asked if I was interested in serving on this journal, that journal. But I still believe in the cause. I still believe in I'm supportive of whatever an organization wants to achieve, but I'm not. I don't have the energy level that really makes me want to do it again. And I've seen enough leaders and volunteers who, have low energy.
You don't want to be that guy.
I don't want to be. Yeah, I mean,
no, it's good. It's good. It's hard to know when you. It's hard to know. I think when you've got when you're. Time's up. That's not the right term, but it's probably the term that's coming to mind. Is like, when I realize like, oh, I've done the stuff I can do. I've done the stuff I'm passionate about. I need to probably pull back and let somebody else work on it. Yeah,
I mean, and I did 8 years as editor of the journal, and for the last 3, it was kind of wasn't so much marking time, but it was like, okay, I all the initiatives I'd thought about coming in and the ideas I had, I'd implemented them. The last 3 years, the main thing we did was to taking the review process completely online and go into these manuscript manager platforms that are now ubiquitous. So that sort of got me through the last few years in terms of tweaking and keeping things interesting. But it's the same with how shall I say? I know it about myself, and one of my mentors was kind of the same. That in research and science, it's like once I know the answer, it's like okay, we're good. I might get around to publishing it, but my curiosity has been satisfied, and my follow through is not as good as it should be for somebody in that sort of or any field. And it was the same with you. When you graduated in the late noughties, is that right?
Well, no, it'd been 2008.
2008, the late noughties.
Oh, naughties.
We call them in England the noughties.
Because that makes sense.
So it's that sort of British sort of tongue-in-cheek double entendre. So I was still at Ohio State, but I left there the summer of 2011, and at that time I was how shall I say, talk about don't want to be that guy. I was worried, even though I hadn't yet turned 50, that I was turning into the person I despised. So you probably had a few people when you were at Tahlequah, people, the people who got you enthusiastic about what you were doing, perhaps sort of some of the younger bucks. Was Nathan there, or was Nathan a peer of yours?
I think he was a year. He was in my class at Pacific, so he went to Pacific when I went to Tahlequah, and then he did a residency in Tahlequah the year after we graduated.
I'm using him as an example of somebody who's a young gun who probably really gets the students excited now.
Yes.
Whereas there might have been people sort of older who were kind of Anyway, so I was worried that I was becoming the older academic who was kind of a waste of space, and and in part it brought to a head. I was a finalist for the dean's position at UAB at the end of 2010, and the analogy I use, I said, it was kind of like having an affair. Not that I would understand such a thing. I've never been married, so I've never had an affair. Seen hundreds, but anyway, when I was going through the process, I was, I'm excited about this. There's opportunities here. There's people, that I could mentor, and I turned around and sort of looked at what I was doing at Ohio State, and it's like, I'm not quite as, I don't have the same enthusiasm about this job. So even before the decision was made and I didn't get the position, I'd said to the girlfriend du jour, whether I get this job or not, I think I'm looking to leave Ohio State, which I ended up doing because I had an opportunity, a stepping stone, if you like, into the independent world with a sort of half-time position with a drug company. So basically, I was a tenured full professor on a six-figure salary, job for life. Okay. So some people thought, what are you, crazy? But, unlike you, I didn't have any kids, which would have been a consideration. I had strategically, when I joined OSU, I had the option between a 401 plan and a defined benefit plan, traditional. The defined benefit plan is the golden handcuffs because it incentivizes you to stay there forever. Yep. Because your retirement is based on final 3 years of salary or top 3 years of salary plus your ending. Plus your year times your years of service times some multiplier. So, if I'd stayed there till 65, I would have, retired very comfortably had I been on that plan. But being on the sort of portable 401 option, it made it more feasible to leave. So, I've gotten dragged back into academia sort of once or twice since then. I was dean at SCCO for a year and, realized that a little institution is very different from Ohio State and Berkeley, where I spent a collective 23 years.
Well, so can you elaborate on that? In what ways? I think there's, you don't notice, there's a lot of us that wouldn't understand what you mean by, maybe being a small piece in the entire wheel of the university versus just having, just a health professions. Is that what you're talking about? Or?
Yeah. It's when you're at Ohio State, okay, Berkeley's a different animal altogether, but you're on a campus with tens of thousands of students. There's a football team, a basketball team, there's a hospital, there's a mature and robust sort of faculty structure, and there are expectations in terms of teaching, research, scholarship, and service that run across the entire institution, and sort of certainly for myself, I was strong in all of those areas, and the people there wanted a career in academia that sort of reflected on all of those. When you're at a smaller institution, obviously the primary mission is teaching, and bringing in 100 students every year and training them, and the faculty focuses on that. Scholarship is nice, but not job number one. So the other thing is everything's sort of compressed. So I could go and listen to the president of OSU once a year talk to a faculty forum. I'd have some impact with the provost's office, the Office of Academic Affairs, but not much. In a smaller institution, you're sort of in much closer quarters to those people, and whereas the choosing my words carefully here.
I can tell.
Where it didn't matter at Ohio State who the president was. It made zero impact to my daily job. Okay. In a small institution, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters who the head of HR is. It matters who the head of student affairs is. It matters, those things have a far greater impact on you. And, the other thing is, you're having sort of spent many years within a culture, coming into a different culture, and, trying to sort of, I wouldn't say change the culture, but freshen it, evolve it is a challenge.
Yeah.
So anyway, but
Is there any impact on research? Ability to get grants, ability to get at a bigger school versus a smaller school?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Ohio State, Berkeley are geared up. They have the infrastructure to support it, and it's part of their mission. Now, just taking some of the private schools, there are people like Mitch Scheiman over in Pennsylvania. There's people at New England College, Sue Carter, and some other people down at SCCO have been incredibly successful, specifically in the area of patient-based research. So there's, I think at the end of the day, there are, it comes down to the individual you're training, the ideas that you have, but the infrastructure, the expectations, the support systems. So one of the things that was I tried to address at SCCO is that there wasn't a way for the institution or the investigators to spend their money. So there was, this sort of war chest sitting there that nobody had figured out how to leverage. And, so I sort of said, hey, as you might do in terms of incentivizing your staff, it's like, hey, you give me some of that money, I'll let you have some of it yourself. So, it's sort of kind of putting in place some sort of bonus structure, and at a place where salaries were not perhaps what they could or should be relative to some of the new programs that have been developed, or compared to the cost of living in Southern California. It's like, okay, it's like we have the money.
Yeah.
So, but again, people were suspicious about that. It's like, okay, you don't want another 10,000 on your salary, okay. But it's,
why do you think so? Suspicious is an interesting word. Why do you use that term?
Because I think whenever you have an outsider coming into an institution, there is that level of it's sort of it's like, let's take politics as an example. Biden, he's socialist. We're gonna be in Nazi Germany, or we're gonna be we're gonna turn into Venezuela. It's like there's that kind of thing. Yeah, I saw it when I moved from Berkeley to Ohio State. It was it's sort of he's not one of us. Even what was the they were nervous about because Ohio State had been a kind of insular place. The only people in the graduate program were Ohio State graduates,
right.
And then Kelly Nichols and Jeff Wallin came to the graduate program as Berkeley grads. Would they be able to teach our methods labs? The optometries, they have, but would they teach it the right way?
The Ohio State way.
Well, yeah, it was kind of, and it's funny actually, because I've seen this through other interactions. The people who teach the refraction, that part of the curriculum are the most sort of opinionated and set in their ways people. You can't even, it's, you can have 20 people in the room and have 20 different opinions on what is, you can't even have a discussion on some things. But that's academia. I mean, when I was chair of the curriculum committee at Ohio State, I had to, I wasn't looking at grades as such, but I had to sign off on a database of grading that went off to the OAT people, so they could see whether they were testing the right skills and how they reflected upon an individual's performance in optometry school. Anyway, but so all of a sudden I've got this data in front of me, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, some of us grade very differently than other people. So some of my colleagues might give 80% of the class an A.
Right.
Another colleague might give 20% of the class an A. All right. Now, I don't know which is right, but as a college, I thought we should at least discuss it. No, that's
interesting.
No, but again, it's what should be our, should you have an override? And you shouldn't have a quota system, but it's like, I didn't have an answer. I didn't come to the discussion with an agenda of, we need to have a regimented grading scheme. No, it's like, but shouldn't we at least discuss it?
Yeah. So that's interesting. You've spent a lot of time in academia, but I always kind of think of you as a guy that likes to maybe break things. Might not be the exact right term, but
bull in a china shop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's so then how did you last so long doing those things, asking the questions you're not supposed to ask?
Well, I mean, it's no, I mean, I'm definitely norm challenging, but not because I want to break something, but I want to make it better.
Yeah.
It's an aspirational approach rather than anything that is, degrading, detrimental, destructive. But yeah, I mean, how did I last 15 years with those sort of shackles? Well, the point is that, I was able to teach the way I wanted to teach and the way I thought, and I enjoyed, one of the things I miss most about academia is interactions with the students. And can the students, or can a small proportion of the students drive you nuts? Yeah. But generally it's the most nourishing part of what you do as an academic, because you're shaping the future of the profession, but also you're in a position to influence, impact individuals' career trajectories. I mean, there times when it was frustration, but again, with when you're tenured, you can voice those frustrations without fear of retribution. There were times, administrators, and people on the dean's team. It's like, you could say, what, this person's out of line. That's not okay, which you can do in a large institution because it's part of the culture. In a small company or a small institution or even in a professional organization, you may not be able to do that. So,
do you think that still exists? Do you think that today that you can still do that like you could 10 years ago? Are there things that you?
I mean, there's political correctness, but you certainly, in terms of, what, this isn't right, or this isn't being handled right. I think you can still do that, and I generally think, we've got leaders that, they don't welcome being challenged, but they accept it. I mean, people like Zadnik, Flanagan, Twa, people who are, deans at major, large institutions. I think they accept that sort of, dialogue, because you get to a better solution if you have a diversity of ideas, even if you end up declining certain paths. The discussion and having the ability to have an open discussion about issues is important. And, again, going back to sort of listening to Freakonomics and other things, there are a lot in the modern workplace, Whole Foods, Netflix in particular is a very non-hierarchical organization in terms of, everybody's evaluating everybody. There's this sort of 360-degree sort of ongoing review where everybody gets to say whether they think people above them, below them, alongside them are doing a good job. So there are companies that are and cultures, and same in academia, that you do get to say what you think of the way things are, how things are going. So I don't know. I mean, I've been out of, shall I say, mainstream academia now for over 9 years. Essentially, I still have an academic job because there are companies who pay me to do what I enjoy doing, in terms of designing studies, reviewing studies, writing papers, serving on advisory boards. So in many respects, it's the nicest part of my old academic life, without having to go to meetings and write grants and, deal with some of the other BS. I don't have the students, but even then I can still, I still interact. I just printed out a paper from my academic granddaughter. So, the PhD student of my former PhD student who, is asking for help revising or repurposing a manuscript. It's like, yeah, okay, great. I can do that. And the same with, other people. I still get the opportunity to mentor, even if I'm not dealing with a class of optometry students anymore. So I have a pretty charmed life right now, and one that hasn't, unlike your own business, been that affected by the current pandemic. My work is largely sitting here at home.
You're in Colorado, aren't you?
Yeah,
that's Colorado. Where you live now.
So what you're looking at there is that was the view a couple of mornings ago with the sun coming up. So we're so Boulder and Denver are down amongst the clouds here. But my normal view is that. So that's what I'm looking at now. So those are the flat irons of Boulder. So we're at 7,000 feet. So we're about 1,600 feet above Boulder and Denver, 6 miles out of town. So social distancing is easy for us. So there's, most of the time it's just Beverly and me here, and we both work from home anyway, when we're not traveling. So we work from home and we deal with stuff. But so
that's what it really looks like. What kind of research were you doing back in 2008? Like, what was your research interest then?
Back then, myopia has been a long-standing interest. But, I had a diversity of interests, and, the research I got into was driven a little bit by, the PhD students I had and what they wanted to do. So, people I trained, Brad Dowdy, who's on the faculty at OSU now, he did, his PhD was on, bioptic driving and low vision. Catherine Richdale was on accommodation and, including imaging the lens using 7 Tesla MRI. So again, it's like you're on an OSU campus, you can do these weird and wonderful things. Michael Twa did sort of data mining and something that's gotten very sort of fashionable now in terms of decision trees and